Ah, it's a lovely day for a boat ride in the swamp. If not for these mosquitoes, then today would be perfect. But for some reason, the mosquitoes keep getting bigger the further you go into the swamp. They started out as tiny, almost invisible insects, and can now be the size of your thumb. You can hear their buzzing as they whiz past you. You go deeper to investigate why they're so big. Eventually, you see a large cluster of mosquitoes the size of your hand buzzing around. They notice you and start flying toward you. You grab a branch and start swatting them away. You run back to your boat and try to escape, but they follow you, and some manage to land on you. You swat them away, but more mosquitoes pop out of nowhere, the size of a basketball. You start your boat and speed your way back to the mainland. As you arrive, you see everyone running away in a frenzy, panicking because of the giant mosquitoes. Some of them are as big as a large dog. People are ducking under picnic tables, while some are running back to their cars and driving away. You get off the boat and run toward the closest grocery store, along with dozens of people. The employees lock up the gates, but the large glass panels show the mosquitoes multiplying. They're getting bigger and bigger until you can see one as big as a car zipping by. It's so strong that it landed on an empty car and crushed it. Everyone inside is ducking away out of fear. You try to calm everyone down and not make any noise. The mosquitoes are landing on the glass panel, blocking out the natural light. It's getting dark inside. Someone turns up the volume on the TV to the breaking news. Mosquitoes are flying rampant all across the continent, destroying natural resources and infiltrating cities. People are advised to stay indoors until further notice. The mosquitoes notice that there are people in the store, so they try to get in by force. A car-sized mosquito flies around in the sky, unaware of what's happening below. Everyone hears some noise coming from the back room. The employees realize they didn't lock the doors. A large mosquito enters and knocks down everything. Everyone runs around in a panic while throwing random stuff at it. Some people grab a fire extinguisher and spray it until it flies to the back room. Some employees lock the door and barricade it so that nothing can enter. Everyone waits nervously. The TV broadcasts some live coverage of how giant mosquitoes are flying everywhere. A helicopter is forced to land because the mosquitoes are flying around wildly in the skies. Everyone shudders when they hear the sound of more mosquitoes buzzing around near the back door. Hours pass, and more mosquitoes keep coming endlessly. There are no people outside, and much of the urban and landscape design in the park is destroyed or overrun by giant insects. Some people eat whatever is available, while some are sleeping. A piece of breaking news interrupts the live coverage and shows that there will be armored buses ready to pick up people near the picnic site. However, the buses won't drive to hotspots since it'll be too dangerous. The only way to get on them is by being on the highway in 2 hours. Everyone tries to call their loved ones, but the cell towers have been knocked down, and no one can call anyone. The mosquito that broke in a while ago destroyed the only landline that was present. People are arguing about whether they should stay or go. More insects cover the only clear patches of the sky until the sun disappears. The people split into 2 parties, those who are leaving to catch the bus and those who want to stay. The employees know a back way that can quickly lead to the highway. The only problem is that it'll take around 20 minutes on foot, and there are no cars to use. The way is tricky. First, they would need to escape through the main entrance and head through the bushy forest behind the dumpsters. Over there, they can enter a building, possibly through the sewers, which will lead to the lake next to the highway. The first party decides to leave. They prepare supplies for the breakout. Every second, more mosquitoes arrive, covering the sky. They gear up with anything they can find to protect themselves. Mosquitoes are attracted to the carbon dioxide that people breathe out, and they know that there's a source coming from the grocery store. Once everyone is ready, they get some makeshift torches and light them up. They add some barbecue fuel to keep the fire going. You're part of the party that is planning to escape. The doors open, and everyone makes a break for it behind the dumpster. Many mosquitoes try to attack you, but the smoke from the fire repels them. Every second, more mosquitoes are filling the sky and the environment. Many people end up running back into the store since they couldn't make it past the dumpster to the other building. Eventually, the rest of the people, including yourself, run toward the building. But it's locked, and no one can break down the door. Plan B is to break the glass from a window and crawl inside. You grab a rock and smash the closest window. The only problem is that the mosquitoes can follow you inside. So without any options left, you pull through and run to the basement of the building to find the entrance to the sewer. Success! You found it, and everyone descends to the bottom. No mosquitoes in sight, just rats. You're walking knee-high in sewer water with it flowing past you, but it's only a few minutes until you reach the river. Another problem is that the sewer isn't going to the lake, but somewhere deep into the sewer channels. You follow it until you see what looks like an outlet. You make it out and are near a water hole where all the discarded sewage leads next to the swamp. The only problem is that you're not next to the highway anymore, and time is running out. More mosquitoes are swarming the air, but they don't bother buzzing next to you. You notice some cat-sized creatures floating on the water. These are baby mosquitoes, or the larvae, and they're coming your way. You and everyone else swim for your lives to the shore. The giant alpha mosquito soars into the air and swoops down to try and grab someone, but it misses. Everyone makes it to the thick, swampy area where no giant mosquitoes can enter. Everyone covers themselves with branches to protect themselves. 15 minutes until the armored bus arrives. Since the mosquitoes can't enter, this will be the best place to hide until then. Darkness falls, and still no bus. It's been 3 hours, and nothing. The mosquitoes are still buzzing around, and everyone is getting uncomfortable under the thick bushes. After a while, everyone hears a roaring engine and sees lights flashing on the highway. Everyone gets up and runs to the bus, but you stop them to not draw the mosquitoes' attention. You volunteer to sneak out and stop the bus, and then everyone else can follow without drawing too much attention. You move a couple of branches, step over some tree bark, and crawl to the highway. You try to hold your breath so that you won't make any heavy breathing sounds. You reach the side of the road and wave your arms to stop the bus. It pulls over and the door opens. You signal the rest of the people to follow, and they follow your lead. Everyone is inside and safe. Some mosquitoes notice and start pecking on the bus, but the armor is sturdy. The bus drives off looking for other people along the road, and suddenly, a Goliath lands in front of you. The bus stops and sees a mosquito the size of a Boeing 747. It looks straight at you. It gets ready to attack, but the bus speeds under its legs and drives off. The mosquito takes off and tries to catch the bus, but you enter a tunnel to the other side of the mountain. After a few minutes, you reach an open area with no trees or buildings. The bus is speeding while dodging obstacles along the way. Finally, you notice you are near the grocery store where you were held up. The bus opens the door for everyone inside to be taken to a safe zone. You hear from the aid workers that the whole world is being overrun by these giant creatures. As you drive along, you see a hybrid mosquito that has 2 heads and a scorpion's tail. It's as tall as the Statue of Liberty, and it's ready to attack. Whatever is causing these mosquitoes to grow abnormally is also making them into hybrids and mutants. And you thought it was going to be a good Monday. Millions of years ago, there were seas and oceans where deserts are today. What if it all comes back? Water instead of sand, where deserts used to be. Life on the planet would change completely. Sand can act like a liquid if a strong enough airflow makes it rise from below. The air reduces friction between sand particles, making more space. The particles begin to move freely, as if they're in a liquid. If a huge vent suddenly opened under the Earth's crust, blowing air from beneath, then perhaps the entire landscape would begin to sink, like being in quicksand. Such monuments as the Egyptian pyramids or the Sphinx would sink under the ground. Huge cities built on sand would disappear. The Sahara Desert would resemble one bubbling cauldron. Camel caravans would simply fall down. But don't worry, the animals wouldn't get hurt. Liquid sand is filled with oxygen, so they'd be able to swim in it. But what if sand turned into water instead of just a liquid version of itself? If this happened quickly and unexpectedly, then disasters would occur on all the beaches of the world. Imagine you're sunbathing on an air mattress on a sandy beach of a seaside resort. You're wearing sunglasses, the sea waves are tickling your heels, gulls are squawking overhead, and you have iced tea in your hands. A perfect holiday. But then, you feel your mattress moving. A wave hits you. You take off your glasses and find yourself in the middle of the sea. The entire beach has turned into water. It reaches way up to the road where cars drive and houses stand. You help people who were sunbathing nearby to climb on the mattress. You swim to the new shore, head home, turn on the TV, and see this is happening all over the world. Hundreds of thousands of beaches are flooded. Water overflows city streets and houses. People are scared. Some leave their homes, while others take surfboards and ride the waves. And while part of the world is trying to cope with a global flood of sandy shores, a fifth ocean is being formed at the same time. You get on a plane and fly over the largest sandy desert on the planet. The area of the Sahara Desert is 3.5 million square miles. This is almost the area of the entire USA. Billions of tons of sand turned into water in an instant, and all this water starts to spill over. Animals living in the sand, such as jerboa, scorpions, cobras, and many others, disappear from the face of the planet. The nearest countries are devastated by the flood. The new ocean connects to the Mediterranean, Red, and Tyrrhenian seas. The water level in the world's oceans is rising so much that most island countries have to evacuate to continents. In coastal cities, people sit in cafes and enjoy life. Some are sunbathing, while others try to escape from the heat in the shade. Suddenly, the wind rises and a shadow appears on the ground. People look at it, puzzled, and it keeps growing. Everyone looks up and sees that a huge tsunami is approaching the shore. Desert countries have it even worse. They're flooded at once and turn into many small divided islands, and huge waves will hit the shores of port towns for a long time. The hottest places on the planet have become wet. Hot sands turned into almost boiling water. It quickly evaporates and forms huge rain clouds. Thanks to high humidity, the air pressure changes and strong winds begin to blow. They drive clouds all over the planet. Long rains begin all over the world, drenching everything. Water mixes with the world's oceans and cools down. The hottest places in the world are getting colder. With temperatures changing, tornadoes and hurricanes form in different parts of the world and ravage the planet. The face of the whole Earth is warping. New seas, lakes, and rivers form all over the world. Before, water comprised 70% of the planet's surface. Now, it's 90%. Fortunately, cataclysms don't last long. Even though sands cover a lot of land, they're not very thick. The depth of the ocean is hundreds of times deeper than the depth of sand in a desert. In some, the sand is only a few inches thick. Only the largest dunes may reach 150 feet in thickness. The water levels will rise drastically and will probably never return to what they used to be. But at least the weather will calm down sooner or later. But something bad is still going to happen. Every year, 2 billion tons of dust rise into the air. Most of it comes from deserts. Particles of this dust contain useful elements and bacteria. The wind carries them all over the planet. A quarter of this dust comes to rest in seas and oceans. Bacteria and nutrients feed small creatures in the ocean, such as phytoplankton or krill. These creatures, in their turn, are food for small fish and even whales. And the fish are food for predators, as well as for many land animals. So, if sands turn into water, the ocean will lose a lot of its nutrients. The good news is that it won't last long either. Nutrients and bacteria will adapt to the new conditions and will be able to evaporate with water, which condenses into rain clouds. The largest variety of the marine world lives in shallow waters not far from the coast. The desert turned into water gives ideal conditions for new life to develop. New species of animals appear that can survive in hot water. Many creatures that lived in hot sands have now adapted to marine life. Camels have learned to swim, and small reptiles can hold their breath underwater for a long time. Thanks to hot weather and shallowness, a huge amount of seaweed grows on the bottom that can withstand high temperatures. The new ocean now resembles a multicolored garden of marine plants. People are also trying to adapt. They build towns on massive wooden structures right on the water and attach them to the bottom with long chains. Fishing has become the main source of food for all humankind. Cars have become obsolete. Everyone wants boats. Famous expensive car brands now design luxury yachts and ships. Also, everyone learns to swim, and every resident of sea cities is an excellent swimmer. All the new water was fresh until it mixed with the sea and gained its saltiness. People have created special filters that turn this water fresh. Global stocks are increasing. There are almost no places left in the world where people don't have enough water. But what if our situation became stranger still, and all the sand on the planet, not only on beaches and in deserts, turned into liquid? All hourglasses in the world would accelerate because the water flows much faster than sand. Sand is also used for all types of construction works. They use it in the production of concrete and to lay a strong foundation. It would be impossible to create bricks and clay without sand. Almost all houses, not counting wooden ones, would simply fall apart. But wooden houses could just rot because of the high humidity levels. Sand is used for glass. Production of mirrors, windows, and light bulbs would be greatly reduced. World reserves of drinking water would decrease as sand is a natural filter for purification. There would be huge traffic jams on the roads because, well, there would be no roads to speak of. Imagine you're driving a car and its wheels turn into jelly. Road vehicles would be severely affected. Planes would also stop flying because sand is used in the construction of the runway. The only means of transportation left would be ships. Sand is present almost everywhere on our planet, so the water would begin to moisten and wash away the soil. The whole world would turn into a vicious marsh, and it would be very difficult to move around. The humidity levels would increase significantly, and thick fogs would appear every day. A huge number of scolopendras, salamanders, frogs, and other creatures that love humidity would take over the planet. Some insects may evolve and increase in size thanks to the new ideal conditions. And people, if they survive at all, might grow scales to better transfer moisture. The Earth would look like a planet from a sci-fi movie. But fortunately, this isn't going to ever happen.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the fight of the century. In the left corner is the most famous dinosaur of all time, Tyrannosaurus Rex. Let's call her Tyriana. She existed about 70 million years ago and was a true queen in today's North American territory. No one could defeat her in a fair battle. Well, except for that big meteor. Spoiler! In the right corner is the nightmare of the sea, Megalodon. This one's named Megan. This species went extinct about 3 million years ago, but legends about it are still alive. It's the biggest shark that ever existed, and it was a super predator in its time. Both fighters are the highest predators in their category. But what happens when they meet face to face? To find out, let's move on to the first category, size. The largest T-Rex ever found was named Scotty. Hey, beam me up! His hips were about 12 feet tall. But if Scotty straightened his back, he would be about 42 feet tall. It's like putting 3 giraffes on top of each other. And if you wanted to pet this cute guy on the nose, you'd have to stand on the shoulders of 7 people to reach him. Even though our T-Rex is not the biggest of its kind, Tyriana still remains one of the most dangerous. But now, let's look at the size of her opponent. The size of the Megalodon is still a controversial thing. The fact is that the only remains of this ancient shark are teeth and vertebrae. So scientists can only guess about the real size of this shark. But even by the most modest calculations, it's bigger than T-Rex. Megalodon was about 50 feet long, which is more than a school bus. It was not only the most massive shark that ever existed, but also the largest fish in the world. Its closest competitor in size was a modern whale shark, but he loses to Megalodon by as much as 10 feet. So, in the size category, Megalodon left no chance for T-Rex. The first point goes to the giant shark Megan. The next class is weight. Let's start with Megan. Usually, adults had a weight of 27 to 59 tons. This is like 3 heavy-lift transport helicopters, or almost like a tank. Actually, some houses have less weight than Megalodon. Its only competitor in the sea is the blue whale. What does T-Rex answer to this? Although it's an incredibly large predator, the largest individual rexes could only reach a weight of 14 tons. That's relatively small for its size. T-Rex could be terribly slow and clumsy, but some of its bones are hollow. This is what reduces its total weight. Thanks to this, she could be much faster and more agile without losing strength. But we see that Tyriana loses to Megan in weight by at least 3 times. So, another point goes to Megalodon. Next up is speed and agility. According to different estimates, Tyrannosaurus rex could run at speeds of 11 to 45 miles per hour. For comparison, the speed of the fastest human on Earth is only 16 miles per hour. So, you do the math. Yep, we wouldn't have had a chance to escape having lunch with, being lunch for T-Rex. But what about maneuverability? Tyriana seems to be big and clumsy. However, T-Rex had excellent balance because of her massive tail and could turn and change direction very quickly. And look at her legs. She clearly doesn't miss a leg day. Now let's look at the second fighter, Megan. Scientists have found that the Megalodon could swim at a speed of about 11 miles per hour. This was enough to become an ultimate predator, but it was inferior to many other species. For example, the fastest sea creature is the sailfish. It can reach 68 miles per hour, about 100 feet per second. Besides, because of its heavy weight, it could not quickly turn or maneuver. Imagine a giant truck needing to make a U-turn. So, when she attacked, she had only one chance to strike. If she missed, she went for a second lap. This gave her prey enough time to run away. In this round, T-Rex finally gets her first score. But we're still 2-1 in favor of Megan the Megalodon. Okay, moving on to the next category, fighting skills. Megalodon was definitely the best predator in the aquatic world, not only because of its size and mass, but also because of its intelligence. Scientists have found traces of Megalodon's teeth on the remains of whales. They concluded that Megan aimed at her prey's weakest spots and knew where the vital organs were located. Other remains of Megalodon's victims had many bone fractures. This suggests that she was not shy about using her weight as a ram. Such a 50-ton ram could easily break through concrete walls. Some individuals prefer to attack the whale's tails and fins first to immobilize them, then attack a defenseless victim. This makes the Megalodon an excellent strategist. Megalodon's prey just didn't have a chance. So this shark had 2 main techniques: ram and ultimate bite. But the arsenal of T-Rex is much broader. Like a Megalodon, it had the strongest bite of its kind and also used a ram. Although its weight was not as big as Meg's, Tyriana could reach a much higher speed, and her impact was much more powerful than that of a shark. On top of that, she could strike with her tail, and her legs had a tremendous force and could hold the victim. No doubt the T-Rex arsenal is much more diverse. So this point goes to the dinosaur. Now it's time for the bonus category, the prize of audience sympathies. T-Rex is undoubtedly the most famous dinosaur of all time. It's appeared in movies, TV series, cartoons, video games, and even postage stamps and memes. And its skeleton in the American Museum of Natural History is the most recognizable in the world. But there are also many myths about it. For example, the idea that it could only see moving objects. In a famous movie, the heroes escape from a T-Rex by just remaining frozen in place. Well, first of all, a dinosaur could easily smell them. Secondly, T-Rex had an excellent vision. It was actually 13 times clearer than humans. Megalodon, on the other hand, has the reputation of a real devil. A scene where Megalodon destroys a fishing boat is still a cult favorite and frightening for viewers worldwide. But because there were so few remains left of it, we can only guess what it really looked like. So, Instagram T-Rex would be much more popular. T-Rex takes this point. Let's move forward. The score is 2-2. So the results of the battle will be decided by the last round. Combat tools. Tyrannosaurus rex had the most powerful bite force of its kind. It could easily break dinosaur bones much bigger than themselves. But the power of their bite was limited by their teeth. They had a weak layer of enamel and were quite brittle, though they rebuild quite quickly. Her front hands have sharp claws, but this weapon is mostly useless because of the structure of these arms. Megalodon has only one dangerous tool, its teeth. But they can be worth everything that T-Rex has. The teeth of the Megalodon were triangular in shape and were over 7 inches long. These are the most massive teeth that have ever existed, and it had 250 teeth, arranged in 5 rows. Each of them was incredibly sharp and could penetrate through the thick skin of whales. Also, the Megalodon's jaw was 6.5 feet wide. An adult person could easily fit in there, but not for long, because Megalodon had one of the strongest bites on our planet. The gong sounds, and it means it's time to start the fight. These two predators meet on the coast of North America. Megalodons mostly lived in deep waters, but sometimes they hunted near beaches. T-Rex was also in this area, and now these two predators have come face to face. In shallow water, the Megalodon becomes even slower, and T-Rex easily evades its bite. But it's difficult for her to attack the shark, because Tyriana's body size does not allow her to dive underwater. T-Rex decides to retreat to even shallower water. Megan the Megalodon drops, trying to bite the dinosaur, and just rams her with all of her 50-ton weight. The T-Rex loses her balance and falls down. Now, nothing can help her. Uh-oh. So, Megalodon proves again that she was the ultimate predator and could easily defeat the world's most famous dinosaur. Day 1. A small but powerful tremor is shaking the city of Naples, Italy. The news networks are reporting on the event. The experts believe that Mount Vesuvius, the stratovolcano on the Gulf of Naples, will explode soon. But when? It's erupted many times in the past. In fact, that's how it got its shape. It's made of multiple layers of hardened lava, pumice, and ash. Vesuvius last erupted in 1944, but a major blast happened there nearly 2,000 years ago. It buried the Roman towns of Pompeii and Herculaneum and decimated the surrounding areas. Today, 3 million people live less than 20 miles from the volcano, and 600,000 live in the danger zone. Large eruptions happen every few thousand years, usually after long periods of calm. And the trouble is, Vesuvius is long overdue for its next one. This time, though, the volcano is being watched by the Vesuvius Observatory. It has seismic stations, special GPS arrays, and satellite-based radar to help it measure ground movement. They also have special equipment to test the chemicals found in the gases coming from the volcano. All of this helps the experts work out whether it's about to go off. But will it? Right now, the magma is more than 6 miles from the surface. Things seemed safe yesterday, but now they're about to take a turn for the worse. Day 3. Another tremor comes in measuring 3 on the Richter scale. All the equipment that's installed near the volcano is now going off. The magma is pushing upwards. It's not at the surface yet, but Vesuvius is definitely restless. 2 more tremors follow in the afternoon. They don't feel like regular earthquakes, and geologists can see the difference in their seismographs. Volcanic quakes register about 4 to 5 less on the Richter scale. Now, the experts are sure it's just a matter of days or weeks until the volcano erupts. Some volcanoes can be restless for months or even years before they go off. But that's not how it goes with Vesuvius. Day 4. The ground starts to crack open, as if a giant creature is trapped in the Earth's crust and is trying to desperately get out for some air. Steam escapes from the little cracks in the soil. Certain areas are hotter than others. If you went there, it would feel like you walked straight into an oven, and it would be hard to breathe. Some sheep got too close to the mountain and passed out. When the farmer found them, he almost collapsed too, not from the heat, but from the gases. Carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide are being released into the air. The entire area around the volcano smells like rotten eggs, and many of the forest animals are now staying clear. The nearby trees have been absorbing these gases from the soil for days on end now, and they're starting to turn brown. The carbon dioxide levels in the area are skyrocketing, and all the detectors are beeping constantly. Day 6. The tremors are getting more frequent. Experts at the Vesuvius Observatory monitoring the volcano say the quakes are coming from the magma that's being pushed upwards. A few hours later, the national emergency alert goes out. Thousands of local people have around 15 days before the volcano erupts, and they need to evacuate their homes. The 600,000 people in the danger zone start to pack their suitcases and leave in cars and trucks. There's chaos everywhere. But in all that disorder, some people are standing still. They look around, trying to understand what's really going on. A few of them are taking photos of their homes. Others are streaming all the confusion on social media. But the senior citizens are just standing outside, looking at their houses one last time. They hope this is all just a false alarm. It's happened before, but who really knows? Day 7. It was a sleepless night. Plenty of the locals have already left. Some good people from other towns drive to the area to help the residents evacuate faster. There's a massive traffic jam, but everyone expected it. This is why the evacuation started early. Ferries, trains, and buses have canceled their services to help the evacuees. They're all working on a tight schedule to make sure everyone gets out safe without any delays. Some people refuse to leave, but their neighbors eventually convince them to go. It will take 7 days to evacuate everyone, and these people will spread out to other areas of the country, not just to the nearby safe regions. Day 10. More than half of the residents have now left the red zone. After the chaos, there's now silence, and it's interrupted by the eerie sounds of the tremors. Animals are being evacuated too. Many people are now trying to save as many animals from the forest as they can find. Day 16. All 25 of the towns that were at risk have now been evacuated. The red zone is empty. But the tremors are getting stronger, as the volcano is a pressure cooker ready to explode. White smoke rises from the large opening on the mountaintop and the vents on the side. The molten rock moves toward the surface, and the pressurized gases form bubbles, just like the ones you see when you boil food. Suddenly, there are some loud booms, and then an explosion. It's loud enough to be heard thousands of miles away, and the shockwave is felt throughout Italy. Volcanic rock is thrown up into the air. A thick black mushroom cloud forms and expands into the sky. The birds abandon their nests and fly away in huge flocks. The red-hot lava is now spewing out of the volcano like a fountain. As it flows downward, it obliterates everything in its path. Then there's a volcanic landslide. Part of the cone-shaped mountain falls off, and millions of tons of soil and rock break loose from the volcano's side and tumble down. The lava spreads on the slopes, and it slowly slides down into the forest and the farmlands. The plume of ash, pumice, and other kinds of rock has risen so high into the sky that people can see it from Rome. Then the tower of debris starts falling back to Earth. First comes the ash, then chunks of rock. The ash in the atmosphere is so dense that it's hard to breathe. The lava slowly spreads across the area and pulls down all the trees. All the nearby towns are shrouded in darkness and smoke. Buildings collapse, and all around there's a mixture of heated, poisonous gas and rock moving faster than a car. Other rocks and more volcanic ash fall miles away from the volcano, hitting cars and destroying roofs. The sky is completely black as the lava keeps on coming. Slowly, all the nearby towns are submerged beneath the molten rock. Some of the lava even reaches the sea. Gigantic white steam covers the shore where it falls in, and the magma turns black. Now, a weird neon blue fire appears on the slopes of Vesuvius. This is caused by burning sulfuric gases. They're escaping at high pressure from the cracks in the volcano's surface. When they come into contact with the air, they ignite. These blue flames can reach 16 feet into the air. Now, all nearby flights are canceled, and many planes have to change course to reach their destination. Ever since the national alert, no planes have been allowed to fly over the volcano. The clouds of volcanic ash can damage jet engines and other plane components. The water supply is now contaminated by streams of volcanic ash, and it smells unbelievably bad. In just a short amount of time, all that magma has made entire towns vanish. Only the roofs of taller buildings can be seen. After the big and explosive eruption, there are some smaller and quieter ones. At this stage, Nobody knows if the volcano has stopped erupting yet, and absolutely no one can go anywhere near the area. 10 years later. Most parts of the red zone are now hidden under hardened but still warm lava, including the ancient site of Pompeii. Some people have started to forget about what happened. Others have begun their new lives elsewhere, and some don't even want to think about what happened to their old homes. But several of them are counting the days until they can go back. 100 years later. You're walking in what appears to be a wasteland of volcanic ash. You suddenly realize that you're standing on top of your great-grandparents' town. Everything is now submerged under a thick carpet of solidified lava. But below it all, just about everything is still intact, completely frozen in time. So, another crazy thing happened to me recently. It was a Sunday morning, and I fried eggs for breakfast. But something was definitely wrong. I wasn't sure if it was the eggs or me, though. Now, you've tried fried eggs, right? They normally taste like, eggs. But that time, along with the eggs, I could also taste lemon, vanilla yogurt, and even some paper. And it's not as good as you might think. Yogurt tastes nice by itself, but together with eggs, it's gross. Whatever was the reason, I decided I'd be okay with just a tea for that day. But as soon as I tried it, I spat it out. What is that? Did I put a spoonful of black pepper there? I needed some water ASAP. I got a glass and, thankfully, it was just a regular glass of water. I tried to eat some strawberries, but along with the normal strawberry taste, they had a taste of hot chili. That's not a good combination, to be honest. It looked like something happened to all of the food in the house. I also had an orange juice, so I drank a glass of it. Surprisingly, it tasted totally fine. Suddenly, I got a weird thought. Do I taste colors? It was so crazy and strange that I needed to check this theory immediately. I admit I licked the white back of my cell phone, but it really did taste like vanilla yogurt, just like the egg. So, it was true. I could taste colors that would mix with every food's original taste and mess it up. I wanted to go to the doctor, but although this new superpower was weird, it was still a bit exciting. Also, I couldn't wait to figure out what other tastes are like. So, I went to a store and got myself a pack of markers. I got to the table, opened the yellow one, and licked it. It did taste like lemon. So, I licked each one and made a list. Pink tasted like strawberry. Red was chili. Orange was an orange. Blue was very bitter. Light blue was salty. And violet was blueberry. Black was black pepper. Beige, nut muss. Gray, paper. And green tasted like puke. Well, I had to conclude I don't eat green food from now on. Not that I was really sad about it, though. Only one color was left, the brown one. I was very reluctant to try it, but I had to figure it out. Whew. To my relief, it had the taste of coffee. Now, I don't like coffee, but it could be worse. I knew I had to go see my doctor, but I kind of wanted to live with this superpower for a while. It doesn't happen to you every day, So I decided I'll go to the doctor tomorrow. And today, I had to learn how to live with this ability. I had to avoid putting in my mouth anything black, gray, blue, and green. Not only food, but the dishes and cutlery as well. And I had to figure out what food I can actually eat, because I didn't like strawberries that tasted like chili pepper. So I went to the store to get some transparent dishes. While walking, I was thinking about my menu for today. Orange juice works, strawberry, vanilla, and lemon yogurt too. I can make a fruit salad with mango, raspberries, grapes, banana, and yogurt. But that was all I could come up with. As I was thinking, I was biting my lip and found out it tasted like strawberry. In the store, it was pretty easy to find a transparent bowl, but spoons and forks were a problem. I think I went to every store in my city until I could finally find them. As soon as I got back home, I cut all the fruits and made a fruit salad. I hadn't eaten much that morning, as you remember. Honestly, it was the best salad ever. I saved some money because I didn't have to buy berries, oranges, and lemons, but the taste was there. As I was enjoying my meal, the phone rang. It was my grandma, and she invited me for dinner that evening. I tried to say I couldn't make it, but she wouldn't listen. Grandmas. You know it's just impossible to skip when they want to feed you. So she said she didn't want to hear any excuses and that I had to be at her house by 6. This meant I couldn't wait until tomorrow. I had to go to the doctor right then and get rid of this superpower before my grandma made me eat puke and drink tea with black pepper. I checked the time. I had only 20 minutes before my doctor left, and the clinic was several blocks away. I finished my salad and ran out of the apartment. I got to the clinic just 5 minutes before it closed for the day and asked if my doctor could see me because I had an emergency. To my relief, he agreed. When I told him that I could taste colors, he looked at me puzzled and probably thought it was a stupid prank. Then I told him the whole story about the fried egg for breakfast and how I bought and tasted all the markers, that violet was blueberry and green was not an apple as he might have thought. That I spent hours trying to find a transparent spoon and fork. To be honest, in my head it sounded better and was making much more sense. The doctor was silent and kinda suspicious. He measured my temperature, my blood pressure, and looked at my mouth. "So, you've been eating markers," he smiled. Oops, I guess my tongue was the color of a rainbow. Well, that really doesn't sound normal for a grown-up. The doctor obviously didn't believe me, so he just let me go, recommending a good night's sleep. So, I guess I was stuck with it, and I had to go to Grandma's. Unfortunately, there was no way she'd feed me strawberry yogurt for dinner. I got home to get my new cutlery, so at least I didn't have to taste paper when eating with my grandma's gray metal fork. I had another couple of hours, so I did some Googling, but still couldn't find any solution or even research on my condition. I thought that maybe I could wash it off, so I drank a gallon of water. But it didn't help, so I went to Grandma's place feeling doomed. Plus, I really needed to go. She was happy to see me and announced that she had my favorite broccoli pancakes for me. Yeah, maybe yesterday they had been my favorite, but definitely not anymore. I tried to say I'm not hungry and I could just drink some orange juice, but of course, she wouldn't listen. She gave me a plate with 5 pancakes and a cup of black tea. Suddenly, I got an idea of how I could get rid of at least the pepper taste. If I put a piece of lemon in the tea, I'll get brown. Therefore, I'll have a coffee tea instead of a pepper tea. I was lucky. My grandma did have the lemon, so the tea problem was solved. But the worst part was the pancakes, and my grandma was looking at me all excited and pleased. I had to eat. I was trying hard to control my facial expression and look very happy, as if I was eating the best food on the planet, even though it was the most terrible meal in my life. And yes, I was drinking a lot of my coffee tea. Well, 3 cups. But when I finished and thanked my grandma, she was so happy that I understood eating puke was worth it. Turned out my grandma actually had a vanilla yogurt, so I ate all she had to get rid of the taste I still had in my mouth after the pancakes. On my way home, biting my strawberry lip, I was thinking, I had to come up with a plan on how to get rid of this ability, but I couldn't think of anything. So as soon as I got home, I just went to sleep, even though it was only 9 p.m. I slept for 11 hours, and the next morning, I made myself a fruit salad with yogurt. Again. I guess from then on, it was my dish for the rest of my life. I was eating it with my transparent fork and watching a TV show, when I suddenly realized I couldn't taste any lemon there, and no orange as well. I bit my lip, and it didn't have a taste anymore. With my hand shaking, I opened the fridge to get my strawberries. I ate one, and it tasted like a regular normal strawberry. No chili pepper. Everything was back to normal like it never happened. But I swear it did. Really. Ah, such a beautiful day, isn't it? It is, until it all goes boom. That's gravity disappearing for just a second. Let's recap the events from the smallest to the largest scale. We'll start with you. Yes, you. If gravity is lost for a single second, unfortunately, you'll most probably be no more. Thing is, gravity doesn't only keep you anchored to the Earth, it also holds all the atoms inside your body together. If this force completely disappears, even for such a short period of time, chances are you'll simply fly apart. Blah! If you don't, then you'll start floating above the ground. Not high though, because 1 second isn't enough to fly too far away. If the gravity stops working only for you, then you'll levitate a little over an inch upwards and then fall back without consequences. Your thoughts will be occupied by the lack of oxygen in your lungs though, because with no gravity, your blood will stop pumping. Now, if it affects the surrounding objects as well, you'll be lucky to be away from home because everything around you will float too. And after a second, all your cutlery, your bed, your wardrobes, etc. will smash down on the floor. Luckily, buildings and trees will probably stay put because they're strongly rooted in the ground by their own means. Still, the picture won't be pretty, and it'll be up to you to clean that mess. Aw, shucks. By the way, you surely know our planet is spinning and hurtling through space at mind-blowing speeds. So there's a chance that if gravity does turn off for a second, everything on the Earth's surface will succumb to inertia and fly horizontally at several hundred miles per hour. That will be an even bigger mess, but only if everything retains its mass. If it doesn't, then it should be no problem. Maybe. Yet, the real trouble starts if the gravity disappears for the entire planet. The force of gravity is equal to the pressure from inside the Earth, and if the outside pressure is gone, nothing will stop the molten innards of our planet from bursting onto the surface. An immense earthquake will begin all over the Earth as the tectonic plates move upwards. Also, all the world's volcanoes will probably erupt too, since the lava will be pumped up with the pressure. If such a mega eruption occurs, no life will survive except the sturdiest of creatures, such as tardigrades. The clouds of volcanic ash will spread across the whole planet, blocking the sun. At first, the temperatures will rise due to the greenhouse effect, but then the planet will cool down and a new ice age will begin. Optimistic. This will all happen even if the gravity returns after a second, because the motion will already start and it'll take a more powerful force to calm it down. Up above, the atmosphere of the Earth will simply evaporate. The air we breathe is also kept around the planet by the force of gravity, so if it pops, we'll have nothing to fill our lungs with. When the gravity comes back in a second, the atmosphere will eventually gather itself back, but the damage will have been done already. It will take a lot of time for the air to return to its original composition. Meanwhile, in space, things are even worse. As far as we know, everything in the universe is held together by gravity, including other planets, stars, galaxies, and even galactic clusters. On a cosmic scale, our planet is but a fleck of dust, having a really tiny mass. The Sun is incredibly huge by comparison. It's 109 times bigger in diameter and over 300,000 times more massive, which is why its gravity is able to keep so many planets in its orbit. And now that enormous force is just poof. Even though it's only a second, the immense pressure of gas from inside our star makes it explode, sending a heat wave far greater than anything we've ever experienced in history. Now, the Sun will most likely survive because a second is too short a period of time for the star to inflate too much. But the same can't be said about Mercury, Venus, Earth, and probably Mars too. Mercury, being the closest, will probably be simply incinerated. The temperature on Venus is already extremely high, but it will spike even more, scorching its surface. Good thing it's not inhabited. And bad thing that Earth is. The heat wave from the Sun will probably obliterate our atmosphere first and then do the same with the surface. So, from the looks of it, nothing will be able to survive again. Oh well. But that's not even close to the end. Our Sun is one of the smallest stars in the universe, the biggest known one being about 1,500 times larger and more massive. If such a giant loses its gravity for a second, everything around it for millions upon millions of miles will simply disintegrate, including other smaller stars. But the objects with the most mass and, as a result, the most gravity are neutron stars and black holes. Both of them are extremely small for their mass, like me. But the pressure inside them is so immense that the loss of gravity for even a fraction of a second might mean a tremendous space explosion. And with a whole second, it's basically warranted. Nobody knows for sure, though, how black holes operate, so there's a chance that something else will happen with them, or nothing at all. Finally, on the largest scale, if gravity decides to take a second-long break, surprisingly, nothing much will happen. Planets will mostly retain their orbits, although they might change a little bit, and if we talk about galaxies or galactic clusters, those won't even notice anything. The biggest changes will be local because, as I said earlier, stars will explode, and the larger the blast, the more it will affect the neighboring celestial bodies. For example, if a star large enough sends a wave of energy in the direction of our solar system, it might send asteroids flying toward us from the Oort cloud. Those space rocks fall onto the Moon and even Earth quite regularly, but they're mostly rather small. The ones sent to us by a star explosion, however, might be a lot bigger and more dangerous. We will be protected by other planets, but still, the chances of collision will be a lot higher than normal. But who cares really? We'll be toast by then. Obviously, this is all just speculation. Nobody knows for sure what'll happen if gravity suddenly decides to stop working even for a second. What we know, though, is that it can't happen without numerous laws of physics being broken all at once. Scientists are pretty certain such a turning off is impossible altogether. For this to happen, everything in the universe will have to lose its mass first. Mass is the main reason things have gravity, so the heavier the object, the more gravity it has. Even you have it. It's just so small that you can't feel it. But if you were several million times more massive, you'd probably be the center of everyone's attention. Hey, I'd use that opportunity. You've spent your entire life researching microorganisms. Last few years, you've been creating a device that can shrink you in size. And finally, it's ready. At first, you want to shrink yourself to the size of a thumb so you can probably see some microbes with the unaided eye. And then, after more experimenting, you hope to shrink to the size of a bacterium yourself. To make the journey safe, you put on a special suit, similar to a spacesuit. It's equipped with a life support system. You direct a beam from the device at yourself. The beam must change your mass and volume. To return to the previous state, you must stand on a round platform the size of a hockey puck. You put it near your feet so you can easily climb on it when you get smaller. Press the button and activate the machine. Ooh, something's wrong. The device gives an error and you shrink not to the size of a thumb, but 1,000 times smaller, to the size of a bacterium. Oops. You become so small that the fleece of the carpet on which you were standing seems to be the size of huge trees. Now don't panic. You need to find the puck, stand on it, and you'll return to your normal size. It was right next to your feet, just an inch away. Wait, but what's 1 inch now, when 1,000 people your size can fit on the tip of a human hair? You decide to climb the fleece to see where the puck is. You can't see the lab ceiling. The room is out of focus because of its huge size. You're surrounded by thousands of bacteria. They're so different in sizes and colors, but you can identify 3 main forms. Round bacteria that looks like spheres are cocci. They can merge with each other and increase in size. Cylindrical, capsule-shaped bacteria, looking like sausages or bananas, these are bacilli. And spiral bacteria are called spirilla. At the end of their body, they have a hair-like cilium. Bacteria are essential for our planet. They help to produce oxygen and absorb carbon dioxide. They purify the water and air, digest the food inside our stomachs, and improve our immune system. They're crawling on the ground all over the carpet. You start climbing the fleece. On your way, you meet cocci that look like huge potatoes, spirilla similar to spaghetti. After a few hours, you finally reach the top of the carpet. For you, it was a long time, but in reality, just a couple of minutes have passed. The smaller you are, the slower the time's going. Do you remember how difficult it is to swat a fly? That's because it sees your movements in slow motion. So, looking around, you see an endless forest of fleece. In the distance, you can see the silhouette of a big mountain with a flat top. It seems bigger than Everest to you. Great, now you need to get there alive. Suddenly, a huge bacterium attacks you from below. Its several bacilli join together, They look like a bunch of sausages. To escape, you jump down. You weigh so little that falling from any height is safe. You run through the dense forest. You notice that almost all bacteria are going at you. Most of them eat organic material, such as glucose or carbohydrates. And right now, hey, lucky you, you're the biggest source of carbs. Smaller microbes stick to your legs, arms, and face. You shake them off and fall. Several bacilli joined together are approaching, but then a round object with spikes the size of a football crashes into them. You see a lot of these balls and realize they're viruses. Microorganisms that can't live apart from bacteria. To reproduce, they must infect a living being. The viruses have entered the bacterium. Other bacteria that chased you are attacked too. You see a gigantic bacterium that looks like a passenger Boeing without wings. It's a type of kachi, several big balls attached to each other and about to eat you. You see a small prickly football getting inside its body. The bacterium shivers and freezes. After a moment, a hole appears in it, and hundreds of thousands of viruses fly out. They're everywhere and looking for a new host. Prickly balls fly towards you at high speed. You grab a piece of lint and swing it like a baseball bat. You fight off the viruses one by one. Your bat breaks and you run away. It seems that you're safe now. You're entering a huge field. There's nothing here but bacteria. You realize this is a small spot on the carpet that you accidentally burned a few months ago. There's a billion microbes here, and they're multiplying at a tremendous rate. One bacterium increases in size and splits into two. After a few minutes, these two bacteria also grow and divide. Now there are 4 of them. The colony of bacteria grows exponentially. With such rapid reproduction, a single bacterium can create offspring weighing about a ton in 24 hours. After 5 days, the bacteria will be able to fill all the seas and oceans. Fortunately, the speed with which they divide is equal to the speed of their destruction. Dryness, a ray of light, high temperature, humidity, all these phenomena control the population of microbes. Under ideal conditions, the bacteria could take over the whole world. You make your way through a field of microorganisms. Large bacteria consume small ones. They multiply and are being destroyed. It's a boiling sea of life. You feel your foot is stuck. You stepped on something sticky. Right underneath, a large spherical bacterium crawls out of the ground. It's connected with other bacteria and hasn't gotten a certain form. It looks like formless pulsing biomass. The thing is clinging to your body, wrapping you. It feels like you're being absorbed by warm jelly. The bacterium compresses your chest. It's hard to breathe and move. At this moment, something that looks like a metal screw smashes into the bacterium. A large diamond bursts in next. After that, several thin, smooth legs looking like curved needles get inside too. All these details unite and transform into a strange creature inside the microbe. A diamond is attached to one end of the screw, and the needle legs cling down. Several dozen of these break into the jelly's body. They connect together and form an army of robots. All these creatures break out from a small hole in the bacterium and tear the microbe to pieces. You escape and find yourself in chaos. The little robot with a diamond for a head is called a bacteriophage. Despite their appearance, they're created by nature, not artificially. The goal of bacteriophages is to attack and destroy bacteria from within. That's how they reproduce. These creatures are all around us everywhere and control the population of microorganisms. When bacteria multiply inside the human body, they leave waste products of decay. This waste is harmful to the body, so it has to fight. Sometimes doctors use bacteriophages, so they help to get rid of bad microbes. They don't attack anything but bacteria. And now you see hundreds of billions of bacteriophages destroying billions of bacteria. The walking diamonds jump on the bacterium, plunging their heads into it, and release the genetic code, separate parts that assemble in new bacteriophages. You continue on your way and take a few diamonds with you just in case. The road is long, but after a few weeks, you finally manage to reach the puck. In the normal flow of time, it's been an hour. You're exhausted, and there's still a whipping to the top. The puck is so high that you can't see the top of it. You can't sleep because you might wake up inside some microbe. There are still a lot of bacteriophages around, but you don't want to take any chances. A deafening crash shakes the air. It's like an airplane turbine is running right next to your ear. You're looking up. A creature the size of a city lands on the carpet from the sky. It flaps its wings and makes this noise. The wings create a hurricane. You grab the fleece to keep yourself from being blown away. The creature smells bad. One of its legs resembles a large skyscraper. You realize it's a fly. Here's your chance to get to the puck. Big orange eyes divided into thousands of segments look like two planets. You climb on the tip of the fly's leg. The insect takes off and you hold on tight. The carpet is moving further and further away. From up here, you can see the top of the puck. It's so wide that you can't see the round edge. You let go of the fly and fall. In the air, you run into millions of bacteria. Finally, you land on the solid puck surface. The device activates, and you return to your normal size. You are, indeed, one lucky bug. Ah, you're flying first class to Paris. Vacation, sightseeing, it's all good. Then the pilot comes on. Attention passengers, this is your captain speaking. The ground below us is jello. We cannot land. Everyone on the plane panics. Is there no wiggle room? Down there, apparently it's all wiggle room. The seatbelt sign turns on, but no one seems to care. People topple over each other. The flight attendants try to calm everyone down, but they get pushed around and ignored. There's food flying everywhere. People are frantically dumping out their carry-ons to find who knows. You look out the window and see buildings falling down like dominoes. The roads begin to look like spaghetti, and the sea is being washed inland. The mountains out in the distance are also caving in, causing massive amounts of landslides. It really does look like jello. Your phone starts going crazy with breaking news alerts. This phenomenon is happening all over the world, but it's not a giant earthquake or anything. The Earth's crust has lost its strength and has become soft, birthday cake soft. The Earth has many layers stacked on top of each other. The inner core, the outer core, the mantle, and the crust. That's the top layer that we all walk around on. When the mantle moves a little too much, the crust starts to shift. That's sort of what an earthquake is. The crust has about 7 massive pieces and a bunch of smaller ones. Now they've all split up into millions of pieces. It's like the whole world's one giant waterbed. The Eiffel Tower, the pyramids of Egypt, the Great Wall of China, skyscrapers, bridges, you name it, they're all in trouble. Years later, you and the rest of humanity have adapted to the Earth's new wobbly surface. Your daily routine now consists of wearing special shoes to help you keep your balance wherever you go. Say goodbye to high heels and sneakers. These boots have a special gadget that glues you to the ground, kind of like a gecko scaling a wall. Sleeping in constant motion is the new normal, but it's not like sleeping on a waterbed. It's way worse. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night for a glass of milk and the ground's moving around like crazy. You'd fall down 20 times before making it to the kitchen. Going downstairs would be more of a sliding situation. Houses built with concrete don't exist anymore. You have a sort of giant bubble as your house now. With the help of special technology, the ground inside the bubble can be stabilized so it won't shake all the time. The foundation underneath your house sways with the wiggly crust so that it doesn't collapse. People rely heavily on drone technology to deliver food, supplies, or the latest cell phone. In fact, the whole sky is regularly filled with drones going from place to place. Sports gets totally revamped. Basketball players are now equipped with helmets and protective body gear so they don't hurt themselves when they fall, which is a lie. You try dribbling on a soft surface. It's borderline impossible. One sport that survives is ice hockey. Actually, all ice sports, speed skating, figure skating, as long as the ice is thick enough, it doesn't matter what's going on underneath. Pretty much everyone relies on these bubbles to do anything or get anywhere. Think of it like a giant hamster ball floating on a shallow lake. Humans have adapted and don't get motion sickness anymore. The new economy is still built on trade and transportation, but now it's mainly done with ships. No more big trucks on the road, no more road. Helicopters are super popular, but landing them can be kinda hairy. All around the world, cities are floating and drifting around. That used to take millions of years. Now, it just takes a few. Imagine living in Melbourne, Australia, but your city's only a few months from reaching South America. It's like a giant cruise ship. All over the planet, millions of animals used to migrate huge distances to find water during the dry season. That's all over. Marine life and our flying friends have been relatively unaffected. Since the ground's always moving, it's impossible for huge herds of animals to stick together when they make their way across land. They're trying to adapt, but it's tough. Mountain goats evolved to be in the mountains. Now the whole world's just one flat, soft mess. After putting on your boots, you make your way to visit some friends down at the park. All inside a large bubble, of course. When the ground collapsed all those years ago, many factories went haywire and released a bunch of chemicals into the atmosphere. Yeah, I think I want to stay in my bubble. You get into your little hamster ball of a car and drive off. The ground is bumpy and gooey at the same time, but you make it eventually. Have you ever tried eating or drinking on a rocking ship? Sailors got used to it ages ago, but for most of us, it'd be a nightmare. But nowadays, everyone's a pro, handling hot soup without spilling a drop. After lunch, your friends decide to go out and explore the lands outside the giant bubble. At first, you refuse, but somehow you find yourself strapped into your personal bubble car, heading for the exit. You sneak past security, find a place to hide the cars, and get out. You and your friends look ridiculous in those specialized boots and gas masks. Still, you wouldn't want to inhale all those toxic fumes. You make your way to where a large major city once stood. It looks like a scene from a sci-fi movie. Buildings piled on top of each other, with nature growing all around. The roads that once existed have split into their original ingredients. You're essentially walking on broken bricks, concrete, and asphalt. Statues are half buried in the ground. Way out in front of you is an old abandoned airport. You have to watch your every step. The ground ripples under your feet. No one's been here for years. As you make your way to the core of the city, huge blocks of concrete break off a falling building. You try your best to jump out of the way, but the ground's so shaky, you barely make it. You and your friends finally find your way to the downtown area. That's when you notice a lot of water around. When the buildings collapsed, it destroyed all the water and drainage systems. All the water for homes, businesses, factories, and hundreds of nearby farms all ended up here. You and your friends scale a building with your gecko boots and reach the top. It looks like the lost city of Atlantis. The buildings look like ancient ruins from a forgotten civilization. One of your friends is getting nervous. Maybe it's time to go back to the bubble city. But you think it's better to just keep moving forward. You find a piece of driftwood and make a sort of improvised boat. You all hop on board and paddle through the city. Under the surface is a whole new ecosystem of underwater plants and animals. And not too far ahead, you spot a shipwreck that's half submerged. One of your friends gets the idea of heading over there to explore it. The moment you step onto it, the water starts shaking. The ground under the ship is so fragile that any tiny change in pressure makes the ship sink deeper. You hop back on the boat and start to paddle back where you came. But the land under the water is extremely shaky, and the collapsed buildings begin to move around. It's like kayaking down a wild river, except it's also raining concrete. Once you make it back to the bubble cars, you and your friends decide it's time to head back to the giant bubble. But as you start to move, you notice that everything looks completely different. The ground's shifted so much, you're lost. Everything around you looks the same, like you're stuck in a giant maze. You drive around for ages. Is the giant bubble anywhere close? Impossible to tell. Out of nowhere, you hear a loud rumbling noise above you. You look up and see a helicopter soaring through the air. It drops down a rope ladder, and everyone climbs on. You were lucky this time. Behold the distant future. Yep, humans have successfully colonized Mars and the Moon. Problems with overpopulation and hunger on Earth are solved. But soon, a new threat looms over our planets, and the Moon. Anyway, scientists have figured out that in 150 years, the Sun will explode and destroy our entire solar system. Bummer. There's enough time to build a fleet of huge spaceships and evacuate everyone. But it's not enough time to come up with some sort of sci-fi space jump. It's been a long time since people found a new, potentially livable planet, and the nearest one's a several million years ride away. There's no other choice. Humankind is evacuated into gargantuan spaceships, and the infinitely long voyage begins. A few decades pass. We leave the solar system and watch our sun explode. A huge flash and that's it. There's no more light. Just small, faraway stars and the infinite black depths of space. All ships are on a synced autopilot that won't go off course no matter what. Even if everyone on board were to disappear, the ship would still arrive at its destination. So, the upside, humans will survive for millions more years. The downside? Because of all of that time spent on space transports, will look different, totally different. Ships arriving to the new planet will be populated with shapeless, pulsating biomasses sitting inside metal exoskeletons. Here's how it happens. Bones in space get weaker, so do muscles. There's no gravity, so your body's not under any sort of pressure to keep it running properly. Astronauts on the International Space Station do a lot of exercise to stop their muscles from withering away. Back to the story. There are gyms and special machines that recreate gravity on every space transport. But to save energy, they're only plugged in a couple of hours per day. Unfortunately, no matter how hard people exercise, in space it just won't be enough. After the first 100 years, human bones have become so brittle that anything remotely physical can lead to injury. After another 100 years, people lose the ability to stand up on their two legs. But it's not only because of weak bones. After all those years in zero gravity, the human body's already changed a lot. A big problem is that people lose their sense of balance. If you try to stand up, you'll just fall. The ship's captains dismantled the gravity machines. They weren't working anyways. And all the sports equipment on board got taken apart ages ago and used as spare parts for the ships. The lack of gravity didn't just make people weaker, it also made them taller. The spine needs gravity to keep it stable, and now all those backbone discs have stretched themselves out. Humans are starting to look like blow-up toys. Everyone's given mechanical arms and legs. You just strap them on and get to work. Servicing the engine, cleaning out the bedrooms, throwing trash out into space, lifting anything. Not happening without those mechanical arms and legs. Time passes, and people become more helpless. Luckily, the mechanical bodysuits keep getting better and better. Since the sun collapsed in on itself, human eyes have been having a hard time. Inside the ships, the sun is replaced by special artificial light that also gives off vitamin D. Since there's way less light overall, people's pupils become whiter. Then, after a few more centuries, their vision really starts going downhill. But this problem is solved by technology. Artificial lenses magnify light and keep humans from going completely blind. The ships get disinfected every single day. That stops bacteria and microbes from multiplying. But it also means that the human immune system doesn't have to fight off any diseases. Pretty soon, humans can't defend themselves against anything. Even a mild cold could be seriously harmful. It's fine for now. There are no germs or anything on board. But what's going to happen later on down the road? On the ship, millions of plants grow in special greenhouses with water and ultraviolet light. The plants produce oxygen and spread it through the entire ship. Of course, it's not enough oxygen to satisfy millions, but it helps people remember the planet they left behind. After centuries of living on spaceships, Humans have adapted to the new conditions and almost stopped breathing. Lungs have disappeared almost completely, and humans are starting to develop other ways of getting oxygen. From water, from liquid oxygen tanks, we're becoming a totally new species. But it's not all bad. Genetic engineering is developing every year. Full-fledged life support suits are created. They help with movement, strength, speed, vision, hearing, even speech. People's voices get so weak they can only speak in whispers. Luckily, the suits have built-in microphones and speakers. There's no food anymore, just specially created liquids. After all that time in space, the human stomach can't digest anything anyway. Fancy a handful of peanuts or a small cracker? Forget it! In the beginning, the special space food had loads of flavor. But over time, people sort of forgot what things were supposed to taste like. Eventually, they stopped adding in flavorings, and because of this new tasteless food, tongue receptors stopped working. Soon, people lost all sense of taste. For some people, this life seems unbearable, but they have a choice. They can just slide on into a cryogenic capsule for millions of years. Then it's just a matter of a quick defrost when the ships finally arrive. But it's seriously risky to be frozen for such a long time. There's no guarantee that the ships won't crash into a huge meteorite, or worse. People start to take a different approach. They upload their consciousness to a central computer. It's safer and requires much less power. And when you wake up, you can just download your mind into a new modified human suit. Some people decide to stay awake and live a, quote, normal life. Thousands of years pass, then millions. Humans look really different now. All their limbs are now artificial, and the exoskeletons they wear are controlled by mind power. With each passing millennium, arms, neck, legs, and spines, they become smaller and smaller. Brittle bones soon dissolve into nothingness. Eyes, nose, and mouths disappear. The brain isn't protected by a skull anymore, it's just surrounded by soft skin. Only consciousness remains. Nowadays, a human is a powerful high-tech robot ruled over by a small pulsating bag filled with a brain. It's been a few million years since humans left Earth. All the ship's inhabitants have already forgotten that their species was born on a planet with gravity. The history of life on Earth has become a myth, an ancient legend. Most people believe that these ships are their true homes, always have been. That's why, when humans finally reach their destination, no one's that eager to get off and have a walk around. Life on a new, unknown planet seems like a huge pain in the spacesuit. Gravity, air, bacteria, germs — it takes several thousand years of evolution for humanity to get used to these new conditions. Luckily, humans have a secret weapon — technology. At this point, all humans are downloaded from the central computer into new robot suits. People face a choice: get off the ship and make this planet their new home, or stay and live on the ships. Those that stay on the ships set off into the expanses of space to explore the galaxy and discover new worlds. Those who decide to stay on the new planet have to adapt to the new conditions. It's pretty different from Earth. There's a different air density, different weather patterns, and strange new chemical elements. It will take another million years before these robo-brain sacs take on a new shape. One day, these distant human descendants will want to research their origins. They'll invent a ship that can jump through space and time. The research will lead them to the distant past, to the small planet Earth, to now. This might sound crazy, but just imagine that tomorrow someone lands in your backyard and they're your descendants from the future. Those passengers who stayed on the ships will probably find new planets and maybe decide to stay on some of them. Their bodies will change and adapt too. So, in billions of years, the universe will be inhabited by different amazing creatures that all have something in common. They were all humans once. Yep, there's ice all around, as far as the eye can see. A white desert covers the entrance to your cave, the one where you and a bunch of other settlers live. Everyone's gathered around a fire pit, trying to keep warm. telling each other stories about how much snow they saw the other day. Some are running around playing tag, throwing sticks, whatever people used to do for fun 300,000 years ago. You're one of the earliest Homo sapiens to ever walk the earth. Others are sleeping or just resting their eyes. All around the cave, all you can hear are stomachs rumbling, sounds like a wild animal lurking around. You look out the mouth of the cave and see that the storm has cleared. Time to grab some tools and head out as a group. In the open wilderness, you find some berries covered in snow and plants that might be edible. But it's not enough to feed the whole tribe. It's the Ice Age, and there's not much vegetation growing anywhere. One of your friends spots some large footprints in the snow. The chase is on. You can't tell what it is, but it should be enough to feed everyone for a couple of days. As you go deeper into the snow-covered forest, you hear a growl behind you. You hope it's your stomach, but you look behind you and suddenly black out. An ice age is a period when large sheets of ice cover everything, changing the Earth permanently. It's partly responsible for the raising and lowering of sea levels, as well as the current layout of the continents. Picture monster-thick ice sheets spread across what's now Canada, Scandinavia, Russia, and even South America. That's all caused sea levels to change drastically, and temperatures around the world fell dramatically. And I'm not talking about just one ice age. There were a bunch of them. Scientists say there have been 5 major ice ages throughout history, lasting for millions of years. And we're in the middle of one right now. Relax, don't panic. It doesn't mean we're all going to be sleeping next to bonfires, trying to keep warm after being out all day looking for woolly mammoths. And no, there won't be a massive geological ice storm that freezes everything in its path. Ice ages have warmer periods in them that come and go, lasting for tens of thousands of years. In fact, billions of years ago, the Earth was one giant snowball with no life on it. And the sun back then was also just a cute little fireball without enough heat to melt all that ice. But as the sun got bigger and hotter, Earth's ice slowly melted away, leaving the green and blue ball we have today. We're living in the Quaternary Ice Age that's been going on for the past 2.6 million years, and counting. Some animals have thrived in this latest ice age, like whales and sharks. They've been at the top of the food chain for ages. Under them are seals, certain kinds of fish, otters, all the way down to tiny plankton. Up on the cold surface, mammals had to grow thick and shaggy fur just to stay warm. Ancient mammoths, rhinos, and bison were known to have thick rugs on them. They looked awesome. They were herbivores and ate small shrubs and whatever grass they could find. But several thousand years ago, temperatures began to rise, and most of these animals became extinct. The ones that remained evolved into the elephants, hippos, and rhinos we have today. You wake up from your blackout and find yourself face to face with a creature that kind of looks like a modern-day bobcat, except it's much bigger and furrier. It's a Smilodon, an epic version of a saber-toothed cat with a mean look. It's around the same size as a male lion and has 2 front fangs that make me think twice before leaving the safety of my cave. They look scary, but scientists think their bite wasn't as powerful as today's tigers or lions. What made them tough were their giant forearms used to wrestle down anyone who got on their nerves. In packs, they were even able to take down mammoths. Either way, you don't want to be waking up next to this kitty. It's staring you down, ready to pounce. But you and your friends keep calm and slowly back off. You get the genius idea to throw a rock to distract it, then run. Nowadays, it's near impossible for a human to outsprint a lion or tiger, but humans back then were much fitter. Once the danger's over, everyone continues to look for food. It's getting dark, and you haven't found anything to bring back to the cave. Suddenly, you smell something burning. Way off in the distance, you see a thin column of smoke rising into the sky. Another settlement? You and your friends look at each other and approach the smoke cautiously. Homo sapiens first came into being about 200 or 300 years ago. But human history didn't just pop up out of nowhere. As far back as 7 million years ago, some of us decided to call it quits. We left our chimpanzee ancestors in the jungle and started doing our own thing. And that didn't just happen once. Over those next millions of years, there were over 20 different human species. Some were our ancestors, some were twigs from a completely different branch. Some were tiny, others better adapted for hot or cold weather. Before you know it, you see a group of Neanderthals cooking some meat, sharpening their tools. Neanderthals were the first to migrate to Europe. Scientists believe they were around somewhere between 40,000 to 400,000 years ago. They occupied all areas between Europe and Asia, while Homo sapiens, that's us, were still all the way down in Africa. You enter their camp and immediately see the differences between each other. They're stocky and look a bit different, but there are some similarities, like flat teeth for chewing and gnawing and big skulls for their big brains. They even have clothes on, like you. According to archaeologists, they lived in shelters and made tools out of stone, sticks, and bones. They welcome you inside and give you a tour like no other. You're officially meeting another human species. They take you inside their cave and show you some of their cave paintings. They were the first artists of their time. Many of their galleries are still around today, like the ones in caves in Spain. You know their style: minimalist paintings of deer, a large handprint. They also dabbled a bit in jewelry making. They made necklaces out of eagle talons and animal fangs. They were also probably the first ones to harness the power of fire. Did they discover it when a bolt of lightning hit a tree? Or when one of them dropped a rock on another rock, creating a spark? No one really knows. But they were able to recreate it and use it to keep warm, to cook food, to see in the darkness, and to protect themselves. After the nice tour, you hang around the campfire to keep warm. They even offer you some extra clothes for the journey home, mostly thick, shaggy mammoth coats. If only you could talk to each other, that would be awesome. But it's getting dark, and you need to head back to the tribe. You say your goodbyes and thank them for teaching you how to draw a deer, and for that sack of food they gave you. The Ice Age was important for the development of the modern Homo sapiens. Because of the extreme cold and other harsh conditions, they had to adapt to survive, be extra clever and innovative. They developed advanced tools and even used bone needles to sew warm clothing. They may have hosted the first ever runway show. When the climate started to get warmer, they developed farming techniques to sustain themselves and mainly settled near large bodies of water like rivers or lakes, while others opted to be near seas and oceans. They, we, were even the first to domesticate animals. Fast forward a few 100,000 years and here we are. Here we go again. You rush around your house, getting your bag ready for work while you gulp down the last of your coffee. Your annoying alarm didn't go off, so you've been in a rush all morning. Just as you're about to leave, you hear a shriek coming from outside. You sprint onto the street. Maybe someone needs help. You look around, but nothing seems wrong. All you can see is an upset-looking woman frantically tapping at her phone. She suddenly turns to you and says something about the battery, but she's so worked up that it was hard to understand. Maybe she missed an important call and she needs a charger. You offer to help and run back inside to get your charger. When you unplug your phone, you realize that it's out of charge too. Weird. It should have been on 100% after charging all night. You think back to your broken alarm clock and wonder whether there might be a local power outage or something. You get even more worried when you check your laptop. It won't turn on either. How are you going to give your big work presentation now? Whoops, you realize that the woman outside is probably still waiting for the charger. You rush back out, but she's gone. The street now looks like some kind of weird disaster movie set. It's filled with angry and confused pedestrians. You manage to pick up on a few words about power and batteries, and it's clear that something has gone very wrong. A guy that lives across the street is on the floor holding his knee and rubbing his head, with his hoverboard lying a couple of feet away on the ground. Looks like he took a big fall. You wonder why everything is going so wrong for everybody. The man, who usually delivers your papers, cycles up next to you. He's panting so much that he can barely get a sentence out. "The battery on my bike is broken. I guess I'll have to ride up all these hills the old school way now." A friend from work runs up to you, saying her car stopped. You try to help her, but nope, the battery isn't working at all. It looks like everyone else is having the same problem. The road is completely deserted too. You try your car too, but that's not working either. Just as you were deep in thought, thinking about how to go about your day without your car, a giant hunk of metal shoots down from the sky and explodes into a million pieces. A drone just fell out of the sky. The street is completely filled with fire, so you and your friend run into your house. At least it looks like you don't have to worry about going to work today anymore. Your friend says none of her electronics are working, so you run around your house checking your things. You go into your bathroom and try the trimmer. Nope. Electric toothbrush? Also nothing. What about that cool remote control car you got for your 12th birthday? You look under the bed. Yup, the car's there. And lots of dust too. Phew. You take it out and try. Nothing. Although, that could be just because it's over a decade old. You pull out a bundle of outdoor lights. What will the holidays look like if these don't work? You feel uneasy, knowing that the smoke detector won't work anymore. How will you know if any of your technology goes wrong and starts a fire? Well, at least most of it won't be working enough to cause a fire anyway now. Time to check the most important thing, the TV. You pick up the remote and, as expected, nothing. You wonder if there's even a way to turn it on without the remote. After searching for a button a little while, you switch it on. You can't figure out why only some things seem to be working. The news stations are all talking about one thing. Apparently, all the batteries in the entire world have stopped working. That explains why the TV is fine. All of the channels showing emergency news broadcasts with clips of chaotic traffic problems and people despairing over their broken devices. There's a banging at your door, and you realize that your wireless doorbell won't ring anymore. That's actually good. Now, you don't even have to pretend you're not home when that annoying neighbor comes to visit. Speaking of neighbor, hopefully, his guitar amplifier won't work anymore. You might finally be able to sleep in on Saturday mornings. Oh no, your new wireless headphones will be useless now. You'll still be paying for those for a couple more months and can't even use them. Another one of your friends, Ryan, is at the door. Luckily, he's a bit of a genius, so he might be able to help figure out what's happened. It freaks you out a bit when he tells you how bad things are looking in the world. Batteries are very important for our society. Most of the technology we use needs batteries to function, but we rarely pay much attention to them, or at least not until our TV remote stops working. Ryan begins to explain that the first battery was invented at the beginning of the 19th century. It stores chemical energy that gets converted into electricity that we use to power things. You cut him off. Why would you need to know about that? How can you get your phone working again? He shakes his head. Apparently, scientists all over the world are looking into the problem, but it seems like all batteries have just stopped working completely, and they have no idea why. The batteries we mostly use are lithium-ion ones, the type you find in smartphones and laptops. These can be easily recharged and offer a smooth and reliable power supply. But not anymore. They're just useless chunks of metal now. The disposable ones are broken too. And now, all batteries have stopped working. There's no way to store power at all. Ryan looks scared and broken. It looks like the world is heading back to the 19th century again. You thought this would all get fixed, but it begins to dawn on you how much the world will change without any way to store power. You get why Ryan looks so desperate, and your face begins to pale. What will people do now? No digital watches, tablets, laptops, calculators? Will we have to memorize phone numbers or learn what's 14 times 6? How will we tell time? Who will wake you up in the morning? At least it'll be a lot easier to get to sleep early without a smartphone. Will people have to get up every time they want to turn on their TVs now? Will they have to socialize without their phones when sitting in bars? No more carrying laptops around and working on the go. You won't be able to jot things down on a Word document anymore. You'll have to get used to writing instead of typing. Pen, paper? You haven't seen those since high school. Oh no, you might have to start reading books again. There won't be much else to do. Your Kindle isn't an option anymore, so you'll need to look into buying some real books. Ooh, that could get expensive. People will have to savor every moment because they won't be able to take pictures of anything anymore. There will be no more electric scooters or bikes. Electric cars won't be of much use either. Well, it's not like you could afford one, but still, it was good to know that some rich people out there had the option to get one. What kind of cars are companies going to produce now? Even boats have some parts charged on batteries, so they may be useless now too. Maybe you'll get to see the return of giant wooden galleons, like the pirates used to sail on. And what about planes? Don't they need batteries too? Looks like that overseas trip to Spain will have to remain on the bucket list. No more listening to music when you're on public transportation. Are you going to have to talk to people now? What about social media? You won't be able to waste time scrolling through your feed anymore. How will you ever get to work again? With no car, you'll have to run miles every day and get up early. You make a note to yourself to look into getting a horse and cart, and you'll have to remember in which order they go. Think about it. Yep, today was an assault on batteries. It's time to start some new habits now, or revive some of those old, long-forgotten ones. Oh boy, you find yourself in the mysterious ruins of an ancient city. You're the only member of the expedition who has managed to make it here. You're walking through a dark maze when you accidentally activate a trap. Whoa, that's a strange sound. Suddenly, a huge rock starts rolling towards you down the hallway. You run as fast as you can, jumping over debris. A final dash and… whew! This room looks like a treasury. Gold coins and gems are scattered everywhere. You go wide-eyed with astonishment. That's enough money to live the life of luxury for decades on end. But it's not the shiny gold that interests you. It's an old lamp that lies in the rubble. As soon as you pick it up, the lamp starts shaking and a huge genie jumps out of it.
You have one wish.
Yeah, just one because it's a lazy genie. No problem. You ask for so much money that you'll never be able to spend it all. The genie claps his hands and disappears. Ding! This is a message to your phone. Your bank account has been topped by 10000. Boy, that number doesn't even fit on the screen. You go back to the surface and pull out your phone. You're going to check who's the richest man on Earth now. Ah, there you are at the top of the page. And again, the number ends in 3 dots. Well, it's time to go home and start spending your money. The first thing on the list is a plane ticket. An extra legroom seat? Nah, too cheap. First class? The same. How about your own plane? Something like an Arabian prince would own. You opt for a huge Airbus 380 converted into a private jet. There's a spiral staircase, an elevator, 4 VIP rooms, a concert hall, a Turkish bath, and a parking lot. You press the pay button, and your plane's waiting for you on the landing strip. You check your bank account, and the number hasn't even changed. So, the genie didn't cheat. As you fly home, you wonder about other ways to spend your endless supply of money. A car? A house? You need some more time to mull it over. You land in your country and now you need to get home. Taking a bus or catching a cab is out of the question. You walk up to a newly purchased Bugatti. This car is one of a kind and cost $18.6 million. Your small apartment doesn't suit you anymore. You need something bigger, a skyscraper. So, the world's most expensive skyscraper has been the Abraj Al Bait in Saudi Arabia that cost $16 billion to build. But you invest $20 billion to break the record. The construction has started, but you still need somewhere to live. You buy a penthouse at 172 Madison Avenue in New York City for $100 million. You've already spent $17 billion, but it doesn't seem your bank account has changed. You feel bored. You decide to entertain yourself by buying the costliest things in the world. A watch with a bunch of the world's rarest diamonds? $55 million. Got it. One more car, this time an old-school Ferrari worth $70 million. It's yours. A baseball card that costs more than $3 million. Hey, why not? A $450 million painting created by Leonardo DiCaprio. Oops, I mean Leonardo da Vinci. It goes into the basket too. Wow, this shopping is so exhausting. Time to relax. Which means a private island. $610 million is the price of a huge island in Hawaii. It's the size of a large city, and now it's all yours. You aren't going to board your old plane to get to the island. You're buying a new one. It's a Boeing 747, the model presidents use when they need to fly somewhere. $660 million, and now it's all yours. Sitting on a luxury plane with a large team of flight attendants at your service, you feel like the world's #1 person. And you already imagine sailing around your new island, right? How could you forget about a yacht? The world's most expensive one is plated with gold and reportedly has some T-Rex bones in the bedroom. It took 3 years and 10 tons of solid gold to build, and you buy it for almost $5 billion. The island looks deserted. There's nothing here but golden beaches and lush greenery. But aren't you the richest man in the world? You decide to build yourself a palace. Click, and $3 billion, Buckingham Palace appears on the island. And one more for your guest, please. Now you're actually traveling around the beautiful island on your own yacht. But your face doesn't look happy. The entertainment for the rich is rather boring. You look up at the sky and think about flying to the stars. And here you are, standing on the launch pad near the rocket that's about to take you into space. You've paid $52 million to do it. But the International Space Station seems to be filled with nothing but research labs. Not too exciting. That's why you build a new $150 billion space station with lots of fun stuff and even a spa. You've already spent more money than all the richest people on the planet ever have, but your bank account still hasn't changed whatsoever. Your imagination is running amok. Ooh, Mars. You spend another $2.5 billion and become the first person to set foot on Mars. Well, red sands, steep mountains, craters? But there's nothing to do, even for you, the man with an unlimited amount of money. So you slam your rocket's door closed and go home. All your skyscrapers are already built. New York City, with your house in the middle, looks very different now. You're lying in a giant bedroom with marble floors, ancient Chinese vases, and a fountain. Your money can buy anything, but you're lonely. So you have another skyscraper built next to yours. This one is for your friends. And one more for your family. And, of course, your beloved cat also deserves a private penthouse. You've run out of free space. It's time to build your own city. You choose a place that used to be a scorching desert with nothing but sand for miles on end. But you pay trillions of dollars and have a city built from scratch. There's a chain of restaurants with your name on them. There are billboards with your face in the streets, and a giant statue on the tallest building in the city looks exactly like you. The city is almost empty, but you drive through its streets escorted by security guards in extravagant cars. For dinner, you buy the most high-priced fish in the world. It's the bluefin tuna for $3 million. And then you decide it's time to make a movie about yourself. The most expensive movie ever made cost $400 million. You pay $1 billion and hire the world's highest paid actors. But when the movie's ready, the only audience watching it is you, mostly because you're in your private theater. When the credits are rolling, you start to throw popcorn at the screen. You didn't enjoy the show. You walk down a long corridor with the most expensive pictures in the world. Next to them, you see the rarest archaeological finds and, is it another fountain? No, you're not okay. You spent trillions of dollars, but you haven't gotten an ounce happier. You decide to go back to where it all began. With a torch in your hand, you return to the ancient ruins. There it is, the treasury. You find the genie's lamp where you left it. As soon as you pick it up, the genie appears in front of you. He laughs at you because you've fallen into his trap. He gave you an infinite amount of money so that these riches drove you crazy. But you pull out your phone and press the Donate All button. In that very second, your money goes to charity accounts all over the world. Now, scientists have more opportunities to work on new medicines. Ecologists have found more funds to use while saving our planet. And every person on Earth has enough food now. The genie gets angry because you've tricked him. He's about to strike you with a lightning bolt. But you grab the lamp and confine the genie to it forever. When you get home and turn on the TV, you see your face on every channel. You're called a hero, the savior of humanity. You get thousands of thank you letters from people you've made happy. You smile and feel better too. Apparently, helping others is the best thing you can do.
The ocean is turning red hot. You try to get closer for a better look, but you start feeling the air getting hotter and hotter, like reaching into an oven. And the sand is so hot that your rubber slippers start melting. The ocean's somehow turned into steamy, hot, gooey lava. You start running inland and see a frenzy of people running wild. See, in reality, lava is made of molten rocks from below the Earth's surface. Deep inside our planet, like the distance between New York and Philadelphia deep, the underground heat from the core melts rocks the same way the sun melts ice cream. When these rocks melt, their temperatures can reach around 2200 degrees Fahrenheit. But don't worry, that only happens really deep under the ground, and only in some specific areas, mostly around the Atlantic Ocean. And it only pops out of the ground when there's so much pressure that it flows up to the surface as a gooey orange super hot liquid called lava that usually erupts through a volcano's neck. But somehow, the entire ocean is made of lava now. And although from a really far away distance, it looks pretty cool to look at, it's really dangerous. First of all, say goodbye to the beautiful blue waves and the ocean currents. Unlike water, lava is thicker, closer to creamy peanut butter in texture, so the wind can't move it around like it used to. But that also means that nothing can sink or swim in it. So even if some ocean creatures could withstand the super high temperatures of lava, they won't be able to live inside of it. They'll either be submerged or float on the surface instead, depending on their density. So, all our marine friends and other creatures that used to call the ocean home will need to find another body of water to live in if they want to survive. Actually, the only animals on this planet that could possibly survive the heat of lava would be the tardigrades. These cute microscopic creatures can survive in any extreme environment on this planet. From frozen icy glaciers to hot and fiery volcanoes. They can even survive in outer space under the cosmic rays. You run away from the beach along with everyone else nearby. The atmosphere is getting thicker and it's not easy to see around you. You think to yourself, I should have stayed home. But home isn't exactly safe either. The heat radiating from all the lava alone would be intolerable for miles. So no more houses by the sea and beach resorts. You're gonna want to make sure you live as far away from the ocean as possible. Most of the coastal cities would become instantly uninhabitable, especially areas touching the ocean with more than one side. Places like Florida, California, and Central America would become mostly unbearable to live in. And that's not to mention island life. Most islands would be so hot that no animal or plant could survive. 97% of the planet was made up of ocean water, and it now all turned to lava. No place on Earth can hold snow anymore, as the planet would look like a glowing orange lava ball. Temperatures would rise so much that the furthest place from the shores and even the highest peaks will still feel like the hottest day in a desert. As you keep running away from the ocean, you realize that maybe you're dreaming, but you look at your skin and see so much redness. Even if you run for miles, the heat will still catch up to you. All the offshore oil rigs and ships in the middle of the oceans will face plenty of problems too. Their metallic composition would simply glow red and melt instantly when in contact with hot lava. And even if it doesn't melt, you better hope nobody happens to be on it. But in any event like that, they would have evacuated everyone. Meanwhile, at the North and South Poles, where the planet is at its coldest, all the ice that was covering the ocean is instantly melting in contact with the lava. It would then cool down and solidify into rocky black landmasses called igneous rocks that are often glassy in texture. The moment the hot lava cools down, huge clouds of acidic steam and gases get released into the air, covering the sky. Scientists call those lays, which is a combination of the words lava and haze. Kinda like when you exit the shower and all the heat comes in contact with the cold outside air, creating a haze, except this one would cover the whole North and South Poles, and it would be super toxic. It sometimes even contains tiny glass particles that are extremely hazardous. And this laze can travel around the world with strong enough wind and cover almost the entire northern hemisphere. It could also cover the southern part of New Zealand, Argentina, South Africa, and Australia. Flying an airplane through this gas wouldn't be the best idea. The heat alone emitted from the lava would be enough to cause major damage to the exterior and affect the airplane's hardware. It's a good thing you found your trusty oxygen container. The air is barely breathable at this point. You make your way to your car and drive away as fast as you can. But even your car's taken some damage. You drive out to the countryside, where the atmosphere hasn't been affected by the lava yet. But even all the way out here, the temperature is changing. The river you used to see on your weekly hikes is drying up. The plants around you are losing their green lush. The animals around have migrated to a different place. Rivers flowing into the ocean would simply create mounds of glassy igneous rocks upon contact, permanently creating natural dams. The rest of the water inland, like in ponds and lakes, would eventually evaporate over time. With the rise in temperatures and no rainfall, it would be the end of water on the planet as we know it. The huge mass of ocean water plays a major role in creating clouds and rainfall. Without water in the atmosphere, the sun's heat would add to the lavas. The world would be a huge barren wasteland. The nights would be hot, and the days even hotter.
Hop on the bright side of life together with our brand new tees, hoodies, and more. Click the link to pick your choice.
Still, lava cools down eventually in contact with the cool air. So soon enough, the surface would start forming a thin layer of black crust that would gradually thicken over the years. The thicker the lava, the longer it takes to completely cool down on the inside. It would still be super hot though, but at least if you touch it, you won't be directly touching the burning lava. That's actually how many islands were formed, like the Hawaiian Islands, for example. They're fully formed by lava erupting from below the ocean that dried over hundreds of thousands of years. It accumulated layers over layers of solidified lava from below the ocean until it rose above the surface, forming islands and even mountains. As we speak, a new landmass in Hawaii is being formed by an active volcano. Scientists expect it to be a new fully formed island in about 10,000 years. So now, the view that used to be the blue ocean turned into steamy glowing orange slime that will in turn quickly transform into a solid black wasteland. But don't think you can easily walk over that ocean. It could take hundreds of years for it to fully cool down and turn into solid rock. Until then, walking on that dried lava crust would be similar to walking on a frozen lake, except that in this case, one misstep would cause you to fall into boiling hot lava instead of ice-cold water. Some regions would even take thousands of years to fully solidify. The Mariana Trench, the deepest region of the ocean, is about a whopping 43,000 feet deep. It would actually take at least 5,000 years for that much lava to completely cool down. There are many planets out there that are so-called lava planets. A recently discovered planet, K2-141b, has magma oceans, supersonic winds up to 3,000 miles per hour, and even rocky rains. That's right, the planet is so hot that it vaporizes rocks and rains them back down. Keep in mind that this planet is much closer to the sun than our planet is. Maybe their oceans once turned into lava overnight.
You spend an average of 8 minutes of your day in the shower. Hey, I'm not there holding a stopwatch, it's just typical. Anyway, that adds up to around 6 months by the time you're 60. All this showering takes about 11 bottles of shower gel or 30 bars of soap per year. You also use enough water to sprinkle over 98 football fields. Not wanting to let too much time and money go down the drain, you decide to reduce your showering to just water and stop using shampoo. You'll still wash your hands with basic soap to stay healthy. You do some research and find out that 80% of all those mean bacteria that make you stink can be washed off by plain water. You don't believe it, but you hide your soap, shower gel, and body wash and go to bed. On day 1 of the experiment, you wake up as usual, brush your teeth, splash yourself with nothing but water, and put on some organic deodorant. You just save 7 minutes and use that time to enjoy a cup of coffee. You arrive at the office and ask your friend Sam to sniff at you just to be sure. Well, he looks at you like you're crazy. Hey, what did you expect? Sam doesn't notice any difference at all. Triumphant, you get back home and repeat your water-only shower the next morning. Your hair is starting to get a bit greasy as you washed it 2 days ago. You decide to give it another day and gradually make those gaps between washing longer and longer. In the evening, you feel the temptation to reach for some shower gel. You really want to get a cold shower, but you realize you need higher water temperatures to combat those bacteria. Day by day, you get used to those sauna-like showers. You go to bed and see soap and body lotion in your dreams, stretching their arms towards you and begging you to get back to them. On day 3 of the experiment, you wash your hair with water only for the first time. Before you do it, you rub your scalp to spread the natural oils. Then you pinch it in sections to pull the oils from the roots down to the ends. You brush it well to get rid of tangles, and only then you wash it with lukewarm water. You let it dry, and it feels just as clean as after shampoo. The rest of your body doesn't feel as clean. By day 6, you feel like you're greasy and dry at the same time. Your abandoned soap triumphs. You reach for it, about to give up, when suddenly your TV turns on by itself. It's a whole show on how to stay clean with no soap. It says that Romans in the 1st century used to take 2-hour-long soaks in baths of different temperatures, scrape and apply oil to feel clean. For French aristocrats in the 17th century, changing a shirt every day and putting some water on their hands was enough. It's kind of a psychological thing. You have to get used to your new clean feeling. The smell of soap or body wash used to be your clean smell. Now you have your own natural smell, and it's okay that it's not vanilla ice cream. It also explains no soap doesn't mean no scrubbing. If you just stand under running water, you won't make the bacteria go away. You can use a washcloth, a loofah, a body brush, or whatever works for you. When you scrub yourself, you remove the top layer of those skin cells you no longer need. You tell yourself you're clean as ever, hop out of the shower, and after 15 minutes, you feel your skin is crisp and impeccable. You also notice your skin has that creamy soft glow, like in a body lotion ad. The chemicals soap contains are super dehydrating. They remove the protective oils from your skin. It messes up the oil balance in its fragile ecosystem and turns it into a patchy, dry desert. Water helps restore that balance. You get to work and ask Sam if he's noticing any changes in your smell. Again, he really doesn't get it, so you explain the experiment idea. He looks at you with approval and, surprisingly, shares some knowledge on the topic too. First, what you do for a living matters. If you work with dangerous chemicals, at a farm, as a gardener or construction worker and contact dirt, pollens, and allergens, you have to shower daily and with soap. The same is with athletes, personal trainers, and fitness instructors. Unless you're one of them, you can go just fine with water or even no showering at all for days. Plus, you save a lot of energy when you're driving and not running around. That's why people of the past needed the shower more often than you do. Second, your genetics also play a role. Your sweat glands could be more active than your neighbors, and you could be more likely to smell. Your colleague Jill overhears the talk and adds it's also about what you're wearing. Cotton lets your skin breathe better than polyester. It also lets enough moisture escape so that you don't smell bad. Jill also reveals her secret. She's been taking water-only showers for a month. She always wears a long-sleeve shirt and jeans to the office, and she's perfectly fine. Her skin doesn't really get that dirty. She also confesses she has smelly feet, soap or no soap. As long as she's wearing shoes like most people do in the office, no one ever notices that. It's been 7 days since you last washed your hair with lukewarm water. It feels a bit greasy, but you could tell it's getting stronger at the roots. Because you don't wash it with shampoo anymore, all the natural oils stay on your scalp. You are retraining it to produce just enough of them so that your hair doesn't get greasy quickly like it used to. You repeat the hair ritual with massaging, preening, brushing, and washing. You go on with the experiment, and by the beginning of week 3, you realize you can perfectly live without soap and shampoo in your bathroom. You go to work, meet up with your friends, and no one notices any difference. You learn to accept your natural smell isn't roses, but it's not dirty socks either. You also realize soap doesn't deodorize, but puts on a thin top layer of fragrance. It makes you smell fresh and clean short term, but then it restarts the problem it just solved. Your hair feels good like never before. It's perfectly hydrated, soft, silky, and even bouncy. It smells fresh and looks clean, so no one could tell you aren't using shampoo anymore. It now starts to look oily 7 to 10 days after washing. It also dries faster and is easier to handle. You save some money that used to go on shampoo, soap, shower gels, and body wash. Most importantly, you now have more time in the morning and before bed. You can see your skin is healthier than ever, and you decide to give it a soap vacation every once in a while. If you stay in this mode forever, you might have trouble with the remaining 20% of bacteria that can't be removed by just water. Their game is especially strong in the warm and humid areas of your body. At those times you want to use more than water, you can try one of the soap alternatives. You can make your own natural scrub from the ingredients you have in your kitchen. Oatmeal, honey, and plain yogurt mix well, same as avocado oil, honey, and sugar. You just can't scrub your face with it because the skin is more delicate there. You can also try oil-based cleansers that trap dirt and old skin cells. They don't disrupt the oil balance when you put them on before taking a shower. Cinnamon and cloves are both famous for their antibacterial properties, so their oils are perfect for this. Honey is great for keeping your body healthy and preventing the growth of bacteria. You can use it as a one-ingredient natural cleanser. Apple cider vinegar makes a great natural toner to cleanse skin. If you want to use soap, choose the natural options. Check if it has glycerin in it. It's a plant-based cleanser that keeps all useful moisture in your skin's natural protective barrier. Shea butter and coconut butter are used in hypoallergenic soaps. Lemon, rose, lavender, and cedarwood oils are often added to healthy scented soaps. Coconut and almond oil are also great moisturizers. All of it's a great way to have some skin in the game.
Is that Earth you can see at a distance? Right. Just look at it, floating in space, hanging out with its planet buddies. You spot orange-red Mars, and Jupiter with its asteroid belt. Even tiny Pluto is there. All these planets keep their distance from each other, moving along in their own orbits. They're not very social, you see, but that's a good thing. It would cause nothing but trouble if they started to bump into each other. But even though there are others, Earth is the only planet we know that has life. And we've even figured out why. It's because it was lucky enough to appear in the best spot in our solar system, in the Goldilocks zone. Scientists say the key ingredient for life is water. But, well, there's water on Mercury. This planet has deposits of water ice at its south and north poles, but only because those places never see the light. Everywhere else, water simply evaporates from the surface of the planet. Mercury is way too close to the sun. Pluto has some water too. Astronomers even think the dwarf planet might be up to 30% water, but it's frozen. Unlike Mercury, Pluto's too far away from the sun, which is why all its water is in the form of ice. But Earth hovers in a perfect spot called the habitable zone. It has the right temperature for the water to remain liquid and for all forms of life to flourish. But what if Earth was the only planet in the solar system? No Mars, no Jupiter, no Mercury, no Venus. Things might have turned out a little different than what we're used to. Remember that massive asteroid that hit the Earth around 66 million years ago? Well, without Jupiter and its asteroid belt, our planet would be constantly hit by meteorites and asteroids, and some of them would be just as big as the one that caused all that sorrow to the dinosaurs. These rocky fellas would be roaming around in space with no one and nothing to stop them. And if Earth was the only planet out there, it would also be their only target. But that's not all. Look at all this huge space Earth would have all to itself. It means our planet would have an opportunity to travel a bit. It could even choose to leave the Goldilocks zone. But then, would life on the planet still be the same? So let's say Earth started drifting away from the sun. Then, it'd soon get too cold on the planet. Picture a place where the sun doesn't shine anymore. Dark, cold, covered in ice and snow all year round. That would be our Earth if it traveled further from the sun. If this happened, our cities would start to look very different. Right now, Earth is full of life. Come to any park and you'll see green trees and grass everywhere. There will be people walking, sitting on the benches, enjoying the sun. You'll definitely spot someone playing soccer or frisbee. On the park's lawns, there will be people resting on their blankets, soaking up the sun. A few people will be reading their books, looking relaxed and happy. Back in space, you see Earth again. The planet is still in its favorite spot. That's why life is so beautiful down there. But wait, is it moving? Our planet is definitely further from the sun now. Has it changed things for Earth? It actually looks a bit bluer now. Down there, famous golden California is not so golden anymore. It's gloomy and dark, much like all other places on Earth. New York is covered in ice. Even in the hottest places, the temperatures are now below freezing, including tropical destinations like the Bahamas. After a while, liquid water turns into ice. The oceans now look like giant skating rinks, except there's no one to skate there since the planet has become way too cold to support life. Okay, then what if, instead of drifting further away from the sun, Earth moved closer, with people still aboard? Whoa, the temperatures here are crazy, too hot to handle. The climate would be getting hotter and hotter. Natural disasters would start to occur more often. Hurricanes and floods would be a common thing on Earth now. And pretty soon, the planet would get too hot for people to handle. Particles from the sun would become a serious threat. The atmosphere would be struggling to protect Earth from solar radiation. But this shield would be growing weaker. Liquid water would be nowhere to be found anymore, maybe only in underground deposits. Earth would look a bit like Mars, all rocky and barren. The Mississippi River would dry up and leave behind a huge canyon, all the oceans would be gone too. At the moment, the Mariana Trench is the deepest known place on Earth. It's incredibly hard to reach its bottom because of the immense water pressure there. But without water, trips to the deepest spot on Earth would be possible. It would help people uncover some more of Earth's secrets. If people still lived on the dry and scorching hot planet, that is. In other words, if someone was to explore Earth after the planet had moved closer to the Sun, everything would be completely different. But what if Earth didn't move at all and everything remained the same? The only difference, there would be no other planets around us. It would change the way people explore space. Sure, there would still be navigation, communication, and weather satellites, and maybe space telescopes. But there wouldn't be any other space objects close enough for people to send missions there. This would affect the future too. If people had no desire or opportunity to go to space, they would invest in their home planet. They would build sky cities instead of looking for other planets to colonize. These days, if you get a state-of-the-art telescope, you'll see distant stars and other planets. The better the telescope, the more detail there is for you to see. But with no other planets out there, the picture of space wouldn't be so exciting. Stars would still be visible, and you might even spot a meteorite or two. And you'd definitely see the moon. But that's about it. Space agencies would mostly be focused on keeping Earth secure, mainly because asteroids would become frequent visitors. To protect the planet, scientists would have to figure out ways to get rid of them. Like a massive laser beam. When turned on, it could go all the way to the moon and even further. Instead of building rockets to explore space, SpaceX and NASA would be in the asteroid clearing business. People wouldn't even think of trying to contact other civilizations. If there were no planets similar to Earth, they would consider it a wasted effort. This means no radio signals being constantly sent out to space. A curious fact, in February of 2008, the Beatles' song Across the Universe was beamed into deep space. It was done to celebrate both the song's 40th anniversary and NASA's 50th anniversary. In the 70s, people also sent a radio signal out into space. It contained some basic information about humans and the solar system. But it was more a feat of strength for technology than an attempt to contact any alien buddies we might have. With no planets around, the world of sci-fi would change too. There would be no more movies about deep space exploration. No massive spaceships and rockets would appear on the big screen. And since there would be no expeditions to other planets, no rovers would be sent to space to look for signs of life and explore new worlds, like what the rovers on Mars are doing right now. People would concentrate more on their own planet. For example, they would begin to explore its insides. New technologies would allow us to dig much, much deeper, all the way through Earth's crust and further. And doesn't a trip to the planet's core sound exciting? Instead of astronauts, there would be explorers of the deep underground. New drilling technologies would be invented to make the digging process more effective. There would be new types of vehicles. They would be created to drill and protect explorers from the enormous underground pressure. While exploring the world under the planet's surface, people would likely find absolutely new life forms. Those would be mysterious creatures that evolved to survive in the dark, in extreme temperatures, and with barely any food. It certainly helped people understand more about their home planet.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more